Luther Foxx, writer, lover, wartime veteran, and New York Times best-selling author. Sharing his passion of nature and civil discourse, this former high school teacher joins us today on a very exclusive interview about his newest graphic novel, titled Birdhouses in Politics, Bridging the Socio-Economic Divide. Together, he and I will discuss key moments that shaped him from the small-town Louisiana boy he was to the gloss and glamour man of today.
Thou shalt repent.
Without further ado, I am your host, James Berrycloth, and this is 5 Feet Apart with your host, James Berrycloth.
It's good to have you here, Tanner. Good to have you here. Great success on your book, man. Congratulations on that.
Thanks, mate.
Beforehand.
Thanks.
Of course.
Jolly old soul.
Quite the funny guy. So, first of all, I'm just amazed to even have you here in the studio.
It's a pleasure.
This is an awesome event. I never thought that I'd, of course, get the honors to meet you, let alone to read this fabulous book that you've made, Birdhouses in Politics, Bridging the Socio-Economic Divide. What inspired you to create this graphic novel?
Knock on wood, birdhouse, you know. Well, it started early, childhood, and, you know, I kind of fine-tuned it, you know, to meet that certain criteria that just draws people to it, you know. And I'm very happy to be here.
So, I imagine coming up in southern Louisiana that your childhood influences might have also influenced this book. I know with your father, native Louisianian. Sorry about that. Your mother also happens to be native. Is that where this habit of becoming involved in birdhouses and politics sort of started, or is there another story?
Well, it's always been nature. And that's what I do it for. I do it for the nature and the outside, right, and the grass and the flowers and the animals. And, you know, I used to be a horticultural teacher.
Right.
Actually, horticulture. Over at Southview High.
Okay.
And I retired about 3 or 4 years ago. And
okay.
I just always prided myself on my work and what I could actually do with my two bare hands.
Right.
You know.
That's amazing.
And as a child, you know, my father would always tell me, he would always tell me that you know, boy, you need to get your head in them books out of that bayou. That's what he would always tell me.
Very influential, man.
Yes, it started when I went overseas, you know, exchange student, right. And you know, it took everything because my parents, they couldn't put me through school. They had no money, you know, the shrimping business, the shrimping business. The revenue that they would get from that wasn't actually, you know, up to par with, you know, living on a boat.
Right. Now that's to put it lightly, because you have had it rough. I know you served in the U.S. Army. You defected.
The charges are still pending.
Stop! Well, that's quite amazing. And I know, of course, like we mentioned, your upbringing has influence. Did the 2 weeks you spent in England help influence the book at all, or maybe any of the stories told in it?
No.
Let me ask you a question. I do have here a quote I would like to read from the book, actually. And this was quite an influential passage in my experience.
Chapter 4, paragraph 10.
No, this actually comes from chapter 7, paragraph 3. And it says, in order to grow yourself, you must first know yourself. Too often do we observe our youth of tomorrow repeat the same cohesive, incompetent behavior as our forefathers, yet we continue idly by until failure rears its ugly head. Could you explain to me what was going through your mind when you wrote that passage?
Many, many drugs. It's something I'm really not proud of. What was your name, James?
Right.
It's something I'm not proud of. For years, I went through for years I went through a sort of depression, and you know, people don't understand
Right.
the sort of mental toll that can take.
Right. Now, before this interview, we were talking, which, real quick, I would like to mention, your accent, quite the chameleon, I would say, quite the chameleon. You, coming up in Louisiana, I know you have a strong Southern accent, very strong. Your mother, she worked at Bubba Gump Shrimp for her entire life. Quite the lady from what I understand. Bless her heart. Before the interview, we were talking about, you suffer from a skin condition, tinea versicolor. Or rather, tinea versicolor, as they say scientifically. Did you mention that in your book at all? Did that influence the creation of the book?
No.
Okay, well, after this, do you have any? I know, of course, this is a New York Times bestseller, quite the novel. If you have not read this novel, I really, really urge. I think it's a necessity for everybody who is an American, for everybody who is a person of color, for everybody who is, if you offer it in Braille, is that correct?
Mainly Democrats.
Democrats. Which reminds me, of course, we've only covered the first half of your book, politics. I understand you're extremely involved in local government. Is that correct?
I am, and the way that the way that I describe politics and, you know, what goes into it, the time that it takes to just come up with these ridiculous,
Right.
I compare it to building a birdhouse, and, you know, the time you have to take to just smooth it out, make the correct cuts, and, you know, make sure that you have the correct pieces to fit.
Right.
You know,
very precise.
It is, and if you have all these pieces to fit, you know, you create this not only a home. It's also very nice to look at. It's an environment. It's an ecosystem. Right. You build it there and you build it up from the ground up. And that's just how I believe politics and our overall core sustainability should go.
Right. Core sustainability, like core and sustainable construction.
Also taught that as well.
You did. Now, quick, a couple flash questions for you. How many birdhouses have you built?
One. And it's not all the way complete. I just have to put a roof on it. And I will one day when I find that peace. That's what this book is all about. It's not only about finding peace. It's about finding help, because I really don't know how to put it together.
Right. And building bridges.
Yes.
Have you built any bridges?
I have not. I have crossed a many. Never built one.
Okay. Wow. What's your mother's maiden name?
Sylvia.
Okay. She's a German immigrant? Okay. How many square feet is your home?
3,500.
It's pretty quite modest. And is it just you, or do you have a spouse?
It's the birdhouse. I live in the birdhouse.
Right. Wow. And you've done all the work yourself. You've not outsourced anything?
A couple times, Home Depot, maybe a Sunday or so if I need the help. But no.
Right.
No.
Last question I have for you, and this is, I'm shaking asking this question. I'm so excited to ask this question. One may say I am ecstatic about this question that I'm about to ask you. Can you not afford a smaller jacket, or do you just prefer?
Continue.
That was my question.
None of your business.
Okay. Is there any reason why
I'm smarter than you. I am very much smarter than you.
Okay.
What have you done with your life?
Well, I am quite a world-renowned interviewer. I have 7 PhDs. I've spent time in Rome, Germany, Egypt, Scotland, Portland, Michigan, Ohio.
How much you make a year?
Roughly $35,000.
That's it. Are you okay?
I'm just trying to do my job.
Could we get back on track? Would you mind? Maybe
No, not at all.
A couple more questions.
Shoot.
Okay. I notice you don't wear any rings. You're not married. Have you ever been married?
So it's not a question to be asking me. That's my brother, really. Yes, I've been married numerous times. They did not work out. I have had sexual encounters with many women. Okay? But on the other hand, James, Jesse, whatever your name is, my brother has not.
You got it right the first
My
time.
brother has not had any sexual encounters. There's actually, it's crazy how, on both sides of the spectrum,
What's his name?
King Poonanny Slayer.
Well, this has just been delightful. Good to have you again. Good to have you. Hopefully, with your next novel?
No, maybe. There's always the chance there, buddy.
Awesome. Well, hey, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Ladies and gentlemen, I really hope that you've enjoyed this interview with
Clyde Bartholomew III.
That's right, Clyde Bartholomew III. That was your name. Did I address you wrong in the beginning?
You may have.
I apologize.
It's okay.
Okay, thank you. Well, folks, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for taking the time. Sir, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for writing this novel. Do you mind if I take a look at the novel? Thank you kindly. Amazing read. Amazing read. Take a look, folks. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks.
Stupid. He told you not to talk about it. I want him fired.